Loading for the M1 Garand and M14 family of rifles versus the more modern AR-15, M16 type actions. With port pressure and the cycling of the gun, there's some considerations to keep in the back of your head as a data point that you just don't really need to give a lot of thought to when you're loading for a bolt action rifle. So if you think about how powder burns in terms of the pressure it's producing, if a powder is burning, quote, faster, it's higher up on the burn chart, because burn charts go from fastest to slowest. The faster powders, if you were to put it on a graph, it would be more like this. The slower the powder goes, the further down that peak gets. Kind of like that. So if you think about where the port is on like a Garand, you have specific port pressure that will allow the action to cycle reliably, but not slam the action to the rear and bend an op rod. Now, traditionally, powders in the burn rate area of IMR 4895, IMR 4064 have been the traditional go-tos and have proven themselves a million times over to work very, very well for the M1 Garand M14 series of rifles. You can go a little bit up and a little bit down on that burn rate chart, but you need to stay within a fairly narrow window. I mean, yeah, Alliance got Reloader 15, Bittabori has N135, N140. I have had people go with powders as fast as TAC, BLC2, but some of those work better in the AR-15, M16 family than they do as opposed to the traditional IMR 4895, IMR 4064 burn rate, and stay within that narrow window for the Garand. Now, one data point, just to kind of keep in the back of your head, that can be a single indicator, is angle of ejection. If your port pressure is too low, that means there's not that much energy cycling the action. So your ejection has a tendency, now other things eject angle of ejection, but one indicator can be if the casings are tending to go sort of forward. That's an indication that the port pressure may be too low, maybe. If the casings are kicking off pretty much to the side, about 3 o'clock, that's kind of where you want it. It's ideal. Now, if your casings are being ejected erratically all over the place, that's telling you that your port pressure is too high, you're battering the action, and you can bend an op rod. So keep those data points in mind. Traditionally, a lot of the people that I have spoken to since I've been in the retail end of reloading and guns and all of that for 20 plus years now, IMR 4895 or something very close to that burn rate has always been the go-to, and they tend to load it down a little bit, not a lot, but use an IMR 4895 with a 150 grain bullet. They're pushing it out of the muzzle about 2,700 feet per second. They get excellent ejection, good reliable cycling of the gun, and the accuracy is very acceptable. Happy trails.